talked about the dream, it reminded me of the Aboriginal culture, and that's kind of how they live their lives in the dream time. Is that what you're talking about, living in the dream, being in touch with?
Yeah, to some degree. I don't know that much about Aboriginals. I'm interested. I read Bruce Chatwin's book, Songlines, and I found it absolutely fascinating. And if you want an example, I mean, I'll talk about it for a minute because it bears on something I'm very interested in. Part of the transformation that I think is going to happen to us lies in the way we deal with language neurologically. Because under the influence of psychedelics, especially short-acting tryptamines like DMT, you experience phenomena which seem to be transformations of the language modality. And I've described this stuff as visible language, that you can actually sing meaning into visible existence. And I've seen this on ayahuasca. This is what ayahuasca is about, the famous group states of mind that anthropologists talk about. What they really are three-dimensional acoustical sculptures that are made by groups of people who are loaded. And it's an extraordinary thing. It's an experience you can't have any other way. And it's not quite telepathy, or perhaps more than telepathy. And the key concept in communications is bandwidth. Bandwidth. The more bandwidth you have, the more detail, color, tone you can impart to your signal. Well, a very low bandwidth channel is the small mouth noise channel. I mean, this is about as primitive as it gets. I mean, short of doing it in Morse code, doing it by voice is it's amazing that we understand each other at all. And in fact, you may have noticed one of the most uncool things you can do is ask somebody, would you explain to me what I just said? And they say, oh, well, oh dear, I'm afraid I was, generally, and a lot of floundering around. In these ayahuasca states, what you see are group-generated acoustical hallucinations. And because ayahuasca is composed of psychedelic compounds which occur in normal brain chemistry, in other words, nothing exotic to human brain tissue is present, it raises the question, well, how close is normal metabolic chemistry to be having an ability to do this? And the answer is, nobody knows, but very, very close. The pineal gland produces adenoroglumerotropane, which is a beta-carboline. 6-methoxytetrahydroharmalan occurs, or maybe it is adenoroglumerotropane, I can't remember. Anyway, there are active beta-carbolines produced in brain metabolism. And language is such an odd phenomenon anyway in our species. I mean, notice that you have to have two people to do it, which raises a real question about how you get that coordinated the first time out. And it's a behavior. It isn't an organ. It isn't like my arm, my nose. It's a behavior. And a learned behavior. And yet a behavior so much more complex than any other behavior you ever learn. I mean, if the average person could walk like the average person could talk, they would be a prima ballerina of the Russian ballet. It's very interesting that we have such facility for the linguistic enterprise, and how it evolves. It's changing all the time. And well, is it just changing in a kind of forward lateral direction, or is there some kind of vertical gain here? I mean, can we actually describe things better to each other than the ancient Greeks could describe things to each other? Can we say things which they couldn't say, or anything of consequence? And I maintain yes. I maintain that culture, freeways, international airports, and so forth and so on, that's just the trailing edge of evolving language. Well, so here's a story which relates to this that is in Bruce Chatwin's book, Songlines. There are these things called songlines which cross Australia, and they can be thousands of miles long. And if you're a shaman and one of these things crosses your territory, then you are the keeper of the song of that part of the line. You must learn and keep this song. There are 137 Aboriginal languages in Australia. So these people did the following thing. They went to a place near one end of the song line, and they recorded a shaman singing his song of that place. And then they went 2,000 miles to another part of the same song line, and they found the songkeeper of that place. And they played the guy's song for him. And it was in a language he didn't speak, and he had never been away from his own home. He had never been to this place. So he listened to the song, and after a while, he began to sing with it. Not the words, but the melody. And he sang with it. The way you could sing with green sleeves if you didn't know the words, but you heard the melody. And then, after it was over, he said, the man who sang this song, his place is a butte with 3 mountains, and eucalyptus filling the valley, and a red rock like a lizard over here. So then they tried to analyze, what is happening here? Is this telepathy? Is it magic? What is it? And I think the key to understanding it lies in, I've recently seen, you can actually buy for about $600 a piece of software where you glue electrodes to your head and sit down in front of your computer, and you see an undulating landscape of neural readouts that look, lo and behold, like mountains, valleys, escarpments. It's like a visit to Utah. And I am convinced that what's happening is that when the shaman listens to the first shaman's song, he does not process the sound the way we do. He processes it the way this computer is processing this neurological input, and what he's seeing is an acoustical environment of sound, and he can see the place. The song is the way it is because the song is not a song. The song is a hologrammatic acoustogram of the topology of the land through which the song line passes. These people are called the most primitive people in the world, remember? So I just recently became aware of this. It's very exciting to me. I'm interested in this software, but this is the kind of thing that lies out there. Because you see, the world arrives at the surface of your skin as one thing, but the senses bifurcate the incoming signal. The light goes to the eyes, the acoustical signal goes to the ears, the tactile signal is conveyed through the skin, and so then when we reconstruct the world, the wells are showing rather prominently in the model. And what happens with the psychedelics is, it seems as though somewhere deep in the brain there is an organ or a program that can take all of the incoming sensory data and actually recombine it into a synesthesic whole, which is neither seen nor felt nor heard, but which is, hologrocked or something, a sense which unites all of the other senses. And that's what I call going into this informational superspace. That's what the psychedelic experience is. It reunifies the sensory datum of the world, and I might add the whole world, not the surface of the world, which is what is conveyed to us by light, but the internal dimension of transcendence which is in the world is also present.